Hello, everybody. I had to unmute my mic unlike last week. How's everybody doing? My name is Kyle, and this is the top 3 show. Tonight is Sunday as normal, and we're doing this weekly now and having a lot of fun at it. So just want to welcome everyone on board. And as you can tell by the description and also by the thumbnail for the video, you kind of know what we're talking about here. Unfortunately for myself, I have not done a lot of research on the Markle thing, so I'm going to have Jackie come in here and actually talk to you about that. But before we do that, I wanted to say we have a lot of things going on. Check out our website. We've done a lot of upgrades to that on the front end and the back end. We even added a dark mode, so you can do a dark mode versus the white screen that you see because people were complaining about the brightness of it. But also we're looking at some live stream stuff going on with call-ins. And so right now it's really, really going well for us. And I want to thank everyone for taking the time out. And with that, I'm going to bring Miss Jackie on board and we are going to talk a little bit here. And Jackie, when you come on, tell us how you're doing.
Hola. How's it going?
How are you tonight?
I'm pretty good. I turned off a lot of news this week, so I'm kind of calm. I'm not my usual aggravated state when I think about politics. I had a good week. I'm really looking forward to the call-in. I can't wait to do that. I know I hope a lot of people call in. I have quite a few friends that I know will call in. There's so much to talk about, and there's so little environments for us to talk publicly about conservative thoughts and values and conservative politics. I mean, for the average person, there's plenty, you have your Newsmax, you have your OAN, maybe some people might consider Fox, but just average people, it's hard to find places. I mean, we all, my friends were over yesterday and they just moved to a new area and her husband's an ex-policeman and they had the thin blue line flag out and the neighbor called them over and she said they were like testing each other out to see where they fall, red or blue. And the man pulled up his pant leg and he had Trump socks on. And it's so funny because when I moved into the house I live now, I went over to my neighbors to say hello. And when she heard I was from New York, she was like, oh. And then she said, I was wondering if you were like us. And then you put your American flag out. It's really almost like a secret society that you just can't be open about. You have to kind of test the waters and see. So I like the idea of more spaces for conservatives to talk.
We're really in the sad state of affairs right now in terms of that. It's almost like you have, like you said, it's almost like it's not quite as bad as like the Scarlet Letter, but one day they're gonna make us probably wear a C attached to our shirts. I guess I don't know,
but deprogram, re-education camps. A truth agency, a government, government-run truth agency.
Yeah. It's really interesting how that's becoming a reality. So in my opinions I put that comment up there talking about Candace Owens and how, I'm not sure if it's a female or male, but how he or she always hits the like button when she comes up. I'm a big fan of Candace Owens, and we'll get to that in a second. In fact, this next piece that we're going to talk about, I'm going to kind of lead into this. We talked about this prior to us talking here, Jackie. This is about the Markle thing, and we talked this weekend. So I'm going to give you the floor. Take as much time as you need. This is an hour show. I doubt it'll take you that long to talk about it, but give us as much detail as you feel, because what I was hearing from you was way crazier than I ever imagined, with the Oprah, with the peers, with I'm not going any further, with the money that's happening, that's involved in this, and her history. I was totally oblivious to this, and I didn't want to talk about it because I didn't want to be one of those people. However, with that being said, Jackie, can you please talk about that as we segue into Candace? But what's going on with this whole Harry and Meghan thing?
So there's a couple ways to look at this situation. I think the overall picture is who cares? Who cares? What the royals do in general, we shouldn't care about. This is like a gossipy thing. Unfortunately, that sells. So Oprah interviewed Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, or they call her now the Duchess of Malibu. And she alleged a couple different things, that she was sad and alone and heartbroken, and she needed mental help. And she went to someone in the palace, and they told her she couldn't have any, which is interesting. And then she also said that somebody in the family made comments as to like what skin tone the baby would be, which I don't think that in itself indicates racism. When I was a student nurse and I was in the maternity ward, I helped deliver several babies from Black mothers. And the first thing they did was look at their ears. And I didn't know what that was about, but apparently it's a good indication. So, and to be honest, everybody I know said when that baby's born, it's going to be beautiful because it was going to be a great mix of those genes. So just because someone commented on what the baby's skin tone would be doesn't necessarily mean they were saying, I hope it's not dark. They might have just said, ooh, this baby might be beautiful. I was more worried about the red hair than the dark skin. So that was a comment. She said there was racism, and since then it's been clarified it was not the queen or her husband, who I believe is called the prince consort. So they made a bunch of allegations. Now, overall, in general, if you've been married, even if you haven't, everybody knows people that have horrible stories about their in-laws, like terrible stories, much worse than anything that Meghan Markle said. Do you go on television and talk about it? Why would you? Because most people don't air their dirty laundry on TV. So I had to do a little bit of research because I wanted to make sure I was speaking from facts. None of us will ever know what the truth is about what went on with all those allegations. But let's look at the big picture. When you meet someone that is a prince, or there's other roles, like somebody that wants to be president, if you marry them, you know that you're taking on that role as well. Somebody's going to school to be a preacher. You can't. He's not going to the strip club with you, and you have to be careful about your behavior. So when it seems like from the outside, she met the prince, they fell in love. I didn't hear her crying about having that beautiful, expensive wedding, all the adulation. I was looking up tonight. All the headlines were like so enthralled with her. This was so romantic. Everybody was behind them 100%. And she was certainly welcomed, and she certainly didn't publicly say that she didn't want any part of being a princess. As a matter of fact, I think she said every girl dreams of being a princess. So she marries this guy. I'm sure the royal life, we all know it's a life of duty and service. And yes, you live very nicely, but your life isn't your own in some sense. So I'm sure that soured for Meghan, who never lost her interest of being an actress and returning. I saw somewhere when she was still living in the palace, Prince Harry was soliciting from Disney some kind of job for her as a woman. And that's going back a few years. Yeah. So they were unhappy there. They wanted to leave. They left. That's their choice. And once again, nobody knows the inside story on that. Now they go to Hollywood. The royals cut off the money because, in fact, the taxpayers support the royals. And if you're not going to be a royal and do the things that royals are supposed to do, you shouldn't get the money. And I understand that Prince Harry was given his share of the mother of Princess Diana's estate, $16 million.
Harry was given the estate because he's not first in line.
He's eighth or sixth.
Oh, really?
He's way far back.
Wow.
Which is why they would not provide security for the baby. He will never be, he'll always be not a commoner. I don't think they would say that, but that prince isn't, Prince Archie is not going to be king. So that's the people that know how the royalty works say that's why he didn't get security. But Harry has $16 million. You can't hire. The beat club down the street here has a bouncer outside on a Friday or Saturday night. You can't hire some security for your family if you're worried about it. And she said, we got death threats. Many, many, many people in the public get death threats. It appears to me, Meghan was divorced in the past. She, when she was 23, I read, she started at a relationship with this Hollywood agent. It lasted 6 years. She got the job on Suit, and the marriage fell apart. I feel from miles away that she is a climber. And I also feel, she really reminds me of Diana in some ways. I love Diana. When Diana was killed, my mom came over at whatever that was, 3:00 in the morning to my house so we could watch the funeral together. Diana and I were about the same age. We both had 2 sons. Her birthday is like a couple days away from mine. I really loved her, but I personally didn't approve of her going on TV and airing her dirty family laundry. Maybe it's the half Italian in me where you don't talk about the family business out in public, but it's just, it did leave a bad taste. And Diana and Meghan, like those girls that are like really hot and everybody's attracted to them, but if you get in a relationship with them, they need a lot of attention. They're very attention seeking and they're kind of like a little crazy. That's what Diana kind of reminded me of. And I think that Meghan may share some of those attributes. She's a beautiful woman, but her whole goal in life is to be an actress and to be in Hollywood. So of course that's where they are. And my prediction is 10 years from now, there's going to be a divorce and Harry's going to be back at the palace crying on his brother's shoulder. Not that I wish that would happen, but it kind of seems that way. I don't have any sympathy. I don't know the backstory. I don't even care. There's something about duty and honor and vows and standing and being responsible. It's funny, if you go on Google and try to research Meghan Markle, there's just article after article about the horrors that they revealed that they went through and the terrible life they had at the palace. Now, this woman her and Prince Harry got paid $7 million by Oprah for this interview. She's sitting there in a dress that costs almost $5,000. Where are we in America? Out of work? Business is under? Kids are out of school for over a year. And look at these guys. I mean, it's very difficult for most people to muster any sympathy for them. I hope. It seems like the Hollywood and the left-wing mainstream media is kind of like, very sympathetic. But the real people of America, I don't really think that they could muster any sympathy for her. If you go on DuckDuckGo and you start researching, you find out a little bit more about, she may have been very jealous, but Kate Middleton, who's Prince William's wife, hard worker, she gets a lot of attention, but she's not attention seeking. Whereas Meghan always seemed to be seeking the attention, I would say, in the last 6 months of her time in England and since she came over here. They were on I read it, or I saw on a movie clip last week, they're on a double-decker bus with James Corden, like on the top level, being interviewed and driving around Hollywood.
Yeah.
You know what? If you want to go quietly into the night and have a peaceful private life, stop putting yourself on TV and giving interviews. I watched a little clip of Piers Morgan arguing with his co-host, and she said, well, the media can be the toxic media. Everybody knows when you're in public life, 1 week the media might love you, the next week it can bring you down. You're not supposed to take either seriously. So they feel that nobody in the media has a right to say mean things about them. Does that make any sense to you?
It does. I was making some points here, some notes here, and I want to try and bring it. The reason why I even want to bring this up as a topic, like you said in the beginning of your statement there, was that who cares, whatever. But at the end of the day, there's some serious social impacts as it relates to our lives, the lives of people around us. Because when you talk about people like Jussie Smollett or Bubba Watson, these people who were using race, let's just face it, and I don't even know. What's the lady who was back in? Now, this may not be the same thing, but Al Sharpton, how he got his start.
Tawana Brawley, that one?
Yeah, I don't know. Was that a similar thing there? Was that for fame? What was that for? Because one thing is they're using race.
The girl that said that white men raped her?
Yes.
She was out late, and she didn't have a good explanation for where she was, so she made that story up.
Okay. It wasn't deliberate like a Smollett or a Bubba Watson. No. But that set the tone for how you can weaponize race. Even going back to Emmett Till, right? He was murdered by accusation of one woman who basically retracted later. So that's why this is dangerous. That's why I want to talk about it, because I didn't realize until I talked to you this weekend that she had to get paid $7 million. She had aspirations for Hollywood, this and that. And so time will tell. Who knows? But getting back to the point that you mentioned about, just to kind of talk about some things here, the ears is an absolute thing that you look at when you have a baby, because black babies come out light skinned. They come out really light. Most of them do, the ones I've come across. And the ears can tell you within a relative degree of accuracy of what skin tone they're going to be. And let's just face it, how many black people have been in a royal household to begin with? They have no idea what's going on. So it's an honest question to ask that, right?
Yeah, we're going to talk about it.
Like, this isn't good times, right? I mean,
yeah,
everyone's white, right? So you're having a chance of having a baby that's going to be of a different ethnicity, if I hate using that term. And so, of course, that's a valid question. Now, who knows what's in that person's heart?
No one but that person, most likely, unless there was 1,000 other conversations, which there's no indication of that.
Right.
As a white person, I'm about sick and tired of being called racist because of something I said, or, like some weird thing or some nuance, or talking about the baby's skin tone. I bet you could find many people, when discussing Meghan and Harry's baby when she was still pregnant, would wonder what the baby's gonna look like, because she's pretty, she has a beautiful skin, but he's red-haired. We don't know, could go either way. Let's face it. And it's just something you might chat about. Certainly.
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't be concerned about that, right? Baby come out with a beard,
Right. Dave Rubin, we love Dave, and you know who he is.
I love Dave Rubin.
But now, not really conservative, but just more of a truth teller.
He's a classical liberal.
Even though she was black, he thought she was Italian. He said, she looks like a million Italian girls I knew when I lived on Long Island. And she kind of does. I mean, if somebody told me that she wasn't black, she was, I don't know, Filipino or something like that, I'd be like, oh, that's, that seems possible. If you didn't know what her mother looked like or what her father looked like. I just think that the Queen, who I have affection for her now, because for 70 years she's been on that throne, and I'm sure she gave up plenty. And as someone pointed out to me that watches The Crown, once you understand that the crown has to be first, right?
It's a great show, by the way. I love that show.
I haven't watched it, but it is true. And when you're born and raised to be a queen or a king, you understand this is the life. This is the life we've chosen, and this is the life we lead. And it's an honor and a privilege. And yes, uneasy is the head that wears the crown, right? So it is a burden, and it's not for selfish people. And historically, it seems like Edward abdicated the throne to be with Wallace Simpson, which he wanted what he wanted, but at least he stepped out and went away. These two knuckleheads, the Duchess of Malibu, doesn't want to be it, then comes out and talks trash about everybody. I just think, and by the way, the Queen's husband has been in the hospital for 3 weeks, and it has never been a good prognosis. So here we are. Prince Harry, that's your grandfather, the one that you grew up with. And you're going to talk filth about him and his wife on national TV with Oprah Winfrey? Like, it just seems to be a phrase I use from time to time called no account. These two, and I believe that children, when they grow up, they do return to their original roots. And I think that Harry will end up back with his family. But right now, him and his wife, they're just displayed a complete lack of integrity, and a lack of loyalty, and poor principles. Yeah.
You mentioned Diane. I watched listened to an 8.5 hour podcast on her life. It's a fascinating story.
It is fascinating.
Fascinating how she pushed her mother-in-law down the steps.
But what else is on Diana's side? I think Diana was 18 or 19 when she.
I'm not trying to dog her out. I loved her. I love her still. I mean, I think she was great. I think she had her flaws. Obviously, her mental health issues were obviously there. It was just a mess. They were even talking about getting divorced before the wedding. They were saying on the limousine going over to Buckingham Palace, wherever they're going to marry at. They're like, should we do this? They almost broke it off a week before, but they said, you know what? So much has been done right now. Let's go ahead and go with it and just see what happens. Because she already knew that, so it was really a bad situation from the very beginning.
Right. But what I was going to say was Diana had, in her defense, She was 18 or 19. She had no idea what she was signing up for. It's a difficult life. But Miss Markle was much older, had been out in the world, had already been married and divorced. I don't know if she had no advisors. I don't know if she didn't listen to them. I don't know what her goal was, but of course it's a hard life. And of course the media is going to tear you up, just as they do when you're on a TV show. There's no rule that says the media has to be nice to you. Ask Donald Trump.
Yeah, he called it every day. So speaking of that, on that segue, did you have anything else more to add to that?
No, I guess not. I mean, I don't know if the viewers will be upset with my point of view. I was very surprised to hear what my close friend said yesterday, that she was sympathetic to Meghan. And I didn't really think I cared about it, but when we started discussing it, I jumped up off the sofa and I started giving my points. And maybe some people do not agree with me. And guess what? You're allowed to. This is America. We're allowed to disagree.
Yeah, and my whole big thing is I'm hoping that this is not being used going the Smollett and Bubba Watson route. Okay?
Oh, and it already has gone. They're already calling her the female Jussie Smollett. I've seen that.
Calling that already.
Oh yeah.
And like I said, that's what. Let me just say this. I'll just wrap it up this way. What would have happened if Jussie Smollett would have gotten what he wanted? If there was no evidence for it and he had a much better story, more credible, there really could have been a race war in the middle of the summer. You know what I mean? Prior to George Floyd? I think it was. You know, that could happen.
Hands up, don't shoot. That race.
It could have been. I mean, we know what happens when the racial fires hit. And Smollett really, I mean, that's the kind of thing we're talking about. That's why I'm bringing this up on tonight's program. Not because I want to do gossipy stuff, but because it's major impact in our culture, in our society. And I think we need to cancel back these people who do this kind of thing. Now, again, benefit the doubt and so forth. But right now, it ain't looking too good for me.
And P.S., one of the clips I watched today, Beyonce has come out and she posted a picture of her and the Duchess on a picture from the past, saying she supports Meghan and blah blah blah. And if I recall, I think after George Floyd, Meghan and Prince Harry made short videos, about the hurt of racism and the damage of it, the systemic racism in America. So this was all lined up months ago. I'm sure by her publicity.
Yep. That's not good.
Sad.
Well, on this note about haters, I don't like bringing up dirty laundry. Well, you can go on YouTube and see it. It's a public comment. So if you go into the video for LeBron James, you'll see it there. It's like the 5th comment down. And I responded to that. I'm not going to put it on here, but it's on my Instagram, by the way. I posted it there. But the reason why I'm saying it's because I get these negative comments all the time, and some of them are just really, really ugly, and you just can't even post them. This one was ugly enough that I could post it. And essentially what it was, yo, Uncle Tom, he used the word uncle, which is meant Uncle Tom. Yo, Uncle Tom, basically, what you doing? Why are you trying to hang with all these white people, trying to step and fetch it? For these people, your channel's never going to be it, right? And so I basically replied, you know what? Thank you so much for your comment, because every comment you make just helps the YouTube algorithm show that I'm getting a lot of engagement. So actually, you're helping us. And if I get more people like you, maybe we will get to where you don't want me to be. So, and I posted in Instagram basically saying, look, don't let everyone get you down on negativity. Had this been 3 or 4 years ago, or I would have gone. It would have been like The Godfather, right? It would have gone off like The Godfather.
You would have felt personally. You would have felt really personally. That would have hit you to the core.
Well, it is personal a little bit when they give you a name call, which is basically just out of nowhere. It doesn't feel good, right? But at the same time, it's like it does make me feel good, because I said, you know what? If you don't get negative comments like this, you will never ever be successful, ever. Also in my Instagram, I was saying, look, I said for months this channel didn't do anything. I had like 10 subscribers, 20 subscribers. I got 0 negative comments. So, but when the channel is actually growing and doing well for itself, and look, we're a small channel. I'm not trying to say I'm like we're like 3,000 subscribers. However, I never thought I'd get to 1,000. Okay, and at that point, and I'm gonna say we, because it's a collective effort. To me, it feels like we're getting places and doing things and making influence. Because I get 9 out of 10, maybe 9.9 out of 10 positive comments, very encouraging, uplifting, and trust me, those outweigh any of these knuckleheads doing this other stuff. However,
when you're in the public eye, so to speak, so it's really like the same thing I just said to Meghan Markle. You have to take the good with the bad. If you want to have some notoriety, then you have to expect negativity. It's just the way it is. There's no rule that says everybody that comments on your page has to be nice to you.
Correct. Hey, Texas, Meg, how you doing? I want to say hi to my just came on board. So sorry to interrupt you there.
No, that's okay. I was looking for Donna. Is Donna on yet tonight?
No, I want to talk to her because I sent her a message. Well, I need to let people know. Well, when you finish your thought, I'm going to get back to that. But
no, I mean, I guess we're basically finished. I think we spent enough time talking about the Duchess of Malibu.
Oh, is that what she's called?
That's what they're. I've seen it in some articles.
They live in Malibu. I'm sorry, they live in Malibu.
I don't even know if they actually live in Malibu, but it's kind of catchy, isn't it?
It sounds kind of
enough for us.
It sounds pretty legit, actually.
I know.
So, but let me just say this real quickly. I have as my segue note before I get into the Candace Owens topic. So for the subscribers who come on here who are members, and we have several people who actually support this channel, and those who don't, it's great. You still contribute just by sharing with your friends and whatever. But people who really want to tie in, who actually support us, we're going to be doing a live stream specifically to you guys. Maybe like ask me anything or ask Jackie anything. If you want to come on this call, Jackie, as well. And I'll spend some time and we'll talk about it. And I'll share with you the direction of the channel, where we're going, how things are structured, and how that's going to segue into other things, different phases. Right now, we're probably in phase 2 of, I think, 4 maybe. And a lot of cool things I have planned and that hopefully will come to fruition. That will really make an impact in the conservative movement in spaces that I don't see being filled right now. So, and the more the merrier. I'm sorry?
I said, I think it's exciting. And let me ask you a question. Do you think anybody could ask us a question that we don't have an opinion on? Like we don't know anything about it? Because between you and I think we pretty much have an opinion on almost everything.
Well, we just have to table it. I mean,
or maybe it'll be fun. They should try and stump us.
Yeah, I mean, but the reason why I wanted to say that was because I don't know your addresses. Now, some of them I do know because you're on Facebook with me, and your username is exactly what it is in Facebook, so it makes it easy. But there's like 6 or 7 that I don't know who you are. And so if you can send a message to me directly on YouTube or wherever you see my social platforms, I'll reach out to you and show you how to set that up so we can get that done. And I think that'd be a cool thing to do. And maybe do it monthly if things continue. But this is not the live stream. This is not the call-in show. That's going to be different. So I'll talk about that right now, too. Jack and I have been working on a format where we can take in live calls real time. And we're looking for maybe a volunteer or 2. I think we're good for now. But if you want to help out in that situation, we're going to do that this week. And we're going to use our Discord server. And I'll give some details on that going forward. So be on the lookout for that. All right. So let me see here. Let me see here. When do we begin? Okay, I'm gonna bring this question up here, Jackie, just to bring it up here. This is off not what we're talking about, but this person here wants to know, so I want to talk about it. So
I think that's a good thing to talk about because that's where we are right now.
So yeah, so to conservatives, at what point will we begin to move past Trump, stolen elections, and the culture war issues? Well, the thing is with that, for me personally, this channel is more or less revolved around that latter part. In fact, it's less involved with the Trump elections. I kind of deviated from the format of the channel to help get Trump back in the office. Since basically, I basically jettisoned all of the movie reviews, all the TV reviews, all the social justice stuff, all that stuff, to go directly to put full gear into getting this election back and where it needs to be. So I'm hoping and thinking that the conservative movement as a whole is doing that. I think number one, we need to talk about voting integrity as a number one option, a number one challenge. And then from there, identifying the people we want to primary and get good candidates and get them funded and then get them in the primaries and get them well suited and ready to go for the primaries and then for the general election. And then in 2022, take back the House, kick out Nancy Pelosi, and we have gridlock for 2 more years. That's what I think we should be going for. But in the meantime, and I'm glad you raised this question because One of the reasons why this channel, in fact, the main reason why this channel is even here is because of Candace Owens. She said in an interview about 3 years ago, she said, we have to attack the media. We have to attack the culture. We have to be able to embrace and be part of the culture in a way that's going to engage us so that we are now part of that statement. Because right now, the left has owned the culture, and it's affecting the youth, and it's hard to do anything if you don't have a grip on what's going on pop culture wise and with the narratives that are being generated. What are your thoughts on that, Jackie?
Well, first of all, founded in Truth 904. You are right. Could you put that back up, Kyle? Because I want to keep my thoughts together. So I think after November, many of us were devastated. I mean, let's face it. It took a little bit for us to get, I mean, most of us kept on living and going to work and doing what we have to do, but we were just sick about it. And then you kind of like, we're still involved in it all the way up until January. So it happened. But I think that we have to look at what happened. It proved that we could galvanize. It proved that the policies and not everybody loved Trump, but it's hard to find a conservative that didn't agree with most of his policies. Actually, to tell you the truth, I hate to say President Trump because I love you, but I think he spent a little bit too much money. I think he could have done more to downsize the government, although he did a lot. So I'm saying he's not perfect. We got to move on, and we got to be successful. We do need to get more like what Ben Shapiro's doing with the movies, and then the other shows that he's going to have on. We have no control over the culture, the colleges. These are important things, and I think that it made all of us question. I didn't pay attention to what they were teaching in college until the past 2 years, when they started like not letting Ben Shapiro speak and things like that. These are important things. I don't know when conservatives as a group, because there's a whole section that still seem to be, focused on Trump, getting him back in office, like loyalty to Trump versus non-loyalty to Trump. But I do think that election integrity is something we can all agree on regardless. And I'm not going to spend the next 4 years being sour about what happened. I know what happened. I know 100% what happened. Yeah, that doesn't mean I just can't base my life on that. But there's no way that my mind, I'd have to see some pretty convincing evidence to believe anything different than what probably most of us believe. All this nonsense with Dr. Seuss, this is important. And the problem is, and this is what, Kyle and I have talked about this, and this is what I like to talk about. I don't want to sit here every night or every time we're on, and I don't want to watch, this is what this one said today. Now look what they're doing. People focus on every far left nonsensical thing, but when you hear that all the time, it gets you upset, it gets you angry, and it doesn't really make me want to fight. It makes me feel like, oh, forget about it. I don't want to focus on all that nonsense all the time anymore. Every single day, somebody comes up with something that will get you aggravated. I've mentioned on here before how I can't even watch Ben Shapiro anymore. And this week, even Dave Rubin was so aggravating that talked about the things that got you so upset I had to change the channel. I think we got to be positive. We're going to win. We're going to succeed. And we have to stop focusing on every little infraction and giving it days of TV, movie, talk show time. And let's get forward. We're going to lose if we continue on like a path that way. Do you ever see the meme? And it's, I believe I can't remember which swimmer, an Olympic swimmer. Who won all those gold medals? Was it Michael Phelps?
I was going to say Michael Spitz.
I know, that's a little bit of, that was Mark. But anyway, so
yes.
The winner is just focused and swimming. And I feel like Michael Phelps was the second one, but he might. Anyway, the other one's right next to him, and all he's doing while he's swimming is watching what the winner's doing. Right? Yeah. So if we're going to win.
He won by that much.
Yeah. So we got to focus. And maybe it was because instead of focusing on his swimming, he was turning his head to see how far ahead the other guy was.
Yep. We can't caught up on him. Yep.
We can't turn our heads and see how far, where the other guy is. We need to focus on our own goals and our own standards and stop listening to the bickering and the inconsequential fights that come up every single day. We got to keep going. And that is why I like Scott Pressler so much, because he's positive and he knows what happened, but he's focused on what can I do about it? What can I do to make sure it doesn't happen again?
He asked another question here. He's been asking a bunch of questions stuff here. We're going to try and get back to this in a second here, but he's asking, I'm not going to be answering all of it here, but in terms of what elected officials we're looking at here, I think as long as these people who love America first and have some sort of Trumpism in them, I think that would be a good start. Basically, who are loyal to the party, loyal to the country, I think would be a good start. And who don't bow down and kiss the knee every time the Democrats tell them to do so. That'd be great. It'd be something that would be different in the Republican Party. And this new question here, let me see here, when we saw Beth Moore's relation. I don't know about this.
Beth Moore, she left the Southern Baptist. I didn't know. I know who Beth Moore is, and a lot of people follow. Do you know who she is, Kyle? No. She's a woman. I think she does have videos like on TBN, but she was a guest on shows a lot. And she does a lot of Bible study. She doesn't have a church, but I don't think she has a church. I don't know why she left the Southern Baptist. We should look that up real quick. But this is the thing. What you're talking about is correct. We have to stop talking about petty nonsense and keep our eyes on the prize, because the petty nonsense is what's going to make us stumble, and you waste so much energy on that you have no energy left for the true fight. I think voter ID, election integrity, and start working for candidates. So I don't really even care if you like Trump or not as a candidate. I want you to be a populist. I don't think there's anything wrong with nationalists. Of course, you should believe your country first. And that means like no Paris Climate Accord. The Keystone Pipeline was important to America. Things like that. So it's not about liking or supporting Trump. It just so happens that many of his ideas, populists and nationalists agree with.
Yeah, I used the word Trumpism. I didn't mean you had to like Trump, but just
I knew what you meant. That's what that's what he espouses, and he's the first person in a long time that's come out publicly. Even people that don't like him realize that it's not about white supremacy. It's about common sense ideas for America, and he understands the plight of the working person.
It's funny how I can only name 3 presidents on the top of my head that had a name after them. Jacksonian was very big. Reaganism and Trumpism. I don't know. There may be some other ones that I don't know about, but those are the 3 big ones, especially Jacksonian. And that was something that was carried over with James Polk, who basically years later came back and tried to fill back into what Jackson tried to do. And hopefully there will be that candidate that will be the Polk for Trump to carry on that legacy. And maybe we may need that Biden to kind of see, okay, we really screwed up here. But, quite frankly, I'm not even going to go there. I'm not giving them the satisfaction. I think, well, you know where I'm going with it. I'm going to stop. So, anyway, Candace Owens basically came out today, you mentioned something today, but she came out.
I saw her on Friday night on Newsmax talk about it, but then she tweeted about it on Saturday.
Let's hold that thought there a second. But she did have an interview on Friday with Daily Caller, and she was talking that in particular interview where she was basically just talking about the whole thing with Meghan and the country, and she didn't mention what you're about to talk about, but how she is, looking to move past that, and she's having this new talk show, and it's going to be an interactive deal, kind of like a Phil Donahue or dare I say Oprah Winfrey, where it's live and audience and they can talk and respond. And she said that that's something, like you mentioned before, is very rare, or right now is not existent in the conservative sphere, right?
Absolutely. And I can't wait. I gotta look up and see how soon you can get tickets. I'm very much looking forward to that. I think it's going to be interesting. If you've watched her podcast, or not a podcast, her show that's on the PragerU channel, you can find it on YouTube. I mean, she has some pretty interesting guests, and I'm very excited about it. And I hope that more people, get the idea that there's plenty of conservatives that would spend money on entertainment that was conservative friendly.
Well, I'm going to play a clip here. The trailer is 1 minute long from dailycaller.com, Daily Wire, I'm sorry. And I make it copyright stricken, so I'm going to cut it short, but you get an idea what the show is going to be like. I'm going to play this trailer right here.
Let's see it.
Are we good, guys? Are we rolling? In this age of propaganda, and the media has done a really good job of creating a caricature of Candace Owens. What's going to be different about Candace at the Daily Wire? The timing right now is really crucial to stand up on a platform and to say, I'm here, I'm a conservative, I'm not apologizing. I'm
good stuff. I'm so excited. And she looks so pretty with her hair like that. May I just say, a woman, I love her hair.
Yeah. So and I got in a fight this weekend over Candace again. She's so divisive. And I basically was like, look, until you can give me some credible evidence as to why you don't like her, that's fine. I have a video on here on YouTube basically saying I'm supposed to be like the biggest Candace Owens apologist out there. But basically, where's the love? Basically, the 7 reasons why people don't like Candace Owens. And I go through them. And this video's been out there for about a year now. And there's probably about 4 or 5 more that I can think about, which are totally different. But
why do you think? Well, let's talk about that. Why do you think people? Well, let's maybe separate it. People in general, and maybe Black people specifically, right?
Well, people in general, but identified all in one big group.
Okay, let's hear it.
If I can remember them all, the 7th one basically is out of fear. They don't understand her. One of them is basically they can't beat her. It's jealousy, especially people who are. I see on Facebook particularly people who are trying to grow their space, whatever, and they feel like she's taking shortcuts or she used to be a liberal. Another reason would be because someone told them not to like her. Another reason would be because of cognitive dissonance. They don't like what she has to say. Mm-hmm. And that's, the video is 7 reasons, but there's I kind of laid them all out. And I think they all have validity to them. And I think the big reason why people don't like her, who are conservative, who are really staunch on their stance, is that she used to be a Democrat and she was involved in there's some litigation issues with social justice and how she tried to backpedal in different areas. And I responded to that, and I have a big write-up of that. I can put it out there online.
Let me ask you a question. Who here used to be a Democrat? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Right. So you know what? I think it was Mark Twain that said, if you're not a Democrat when you're 20, you have no heart, and if you're not a Republican when you're 40, you have no brain. Right. So there's many of us that I was a Democrat for 35 years. So that's not a sin. You're allowed to change your mind.
Well, people got on Trump too early on about him being a Democrat and him being a plant for the Democrat Party. That was a big narrative that came out prior to, and he was a Democrat, but so was Reagan. So I mean, I don't.
That's right.
I get some of that.
You can say I didn't leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left me, and I kind of feel that way as well.
I mean, I get some of that, but the thing she says is pretty much right on the money. And here's the thing: the thing she says isn't rocket science. The same thing that Levine says, same thing that Rush says, the same thing that
Larry Elder
says, same thing that Ben Shapiro says, same thing that Charlie Kirk says. So why is when she says it, it's a problem? She's not saying anything differently than Larry Elder. Larry Elder's her mentor. Larry Elder taught her. He brought her up. I mean, it's like, give me a break. And it's the stupidest thing I've seen in my life. And she's putting herself out there. And so what? She gets some money on the other side. And it's like, well, Blex is this site where she's getting money and she's doing whatever. Well, it's a nonprofit. If you're a nonprofit, you have to ask for money. You're not making a widget.
Right. That's a little ridiculous, that comment. But I would say this. So the only criticism I would ever have of Candace Owens, because I think Candace is great. I think what she's doing is great. Really, she opened up Black conservatism far and wide. And Trump wouldn't have gotten those minority votes that he got had not been for Blexit, Candace Owens, Tate, a lot of people, but Candace started it all. So the only criticism I would have, and especially since she made that announcement, is
you're going to say that. You're going to say that right now.
Oh, well, so I was watching Newsmax on Friday night, and she was being interviewed, and she said that she's seriously considering a run for president in 2024. So before I talk about whether she's, what's the backstory, because everybody has to manipulate the media, even Candace Owens, even people that we like, right? So I'm not sure where she's going with that. And then she tweeted it out on Saturday. But I would say that she needs to stop getting into fights with people like Cardi B, and then commenting on when Harry Styles wore a dress on the cover of a. So I don't know if that helps. I don't know what the numbers are, and I don't know how that works, but I would say go model yourself a little bit more like Carol Swain.
I'd say Candace, man, I don't want to say this in a negative term because she may watch this one day. She's a little hood, and I like that about her. And it's
right, but if you want to go to if you aspire to a higher political office, that's not.
I'm with you I'm with you because can you imagine her at a press conference just totally giving it giving it in a way that no one's been given out to before in a national press conference, like because I totally get it. And the thing is, when she went to, I think it was Howard University, I believe it may have been Howard University, she was in the middle of the pit of like the lions by herself on stage, talking to these people who were yelling at her, screaming at her. She didn't move. She's been in the most, just like Kingface would do. He would sit in the middle of in the depth of the pit of hell of all these Democrats and whatever around him, and she does the same thing, but as a female by herself and fearless. And I'm like, dude, until you can do that, I don't want to hear about it because obviously she's committed.
Did you ever see when she did that thing with T.I.?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And she gives it right back to him. And same as they show the clip on YouTube all the time of her testifying in front of some kind of the Congress or Senate. And they brought all these white professionals to talk about the problems with Black people. And she brought up the most, why are you bringing these white people in to say what's wrong with the Black community? She said, that line where she says, racism isn't even in the top 100 things of problems that Black people have. So she's fierce, and she isn't fearful. And that is amazing. And every time I watch Uncle Tom and they show that clip of her in front of all they brought some group to the White House, all Black people, but I don't know what the name of the group was. Maybe it was conservative, a group of Black conservatives, or maybe it was like kids. And she comes up to the stage and she's in front of the podium and she goes like, well, look at this, and it's a beautiful, like I get a little teary when I watch that scene because it's amazing and it's monumental. And
in the movie you're referring to.
In Uncle Tom, they show a clip of her speaking at the White House in front of it's Black youth.
Oh, yeah, that was Brexit.
It was a Brexit, but she says, look at us. Here we are. All, 1,000 Black people in the White House. The president's coming out to meet us. Like, that's amazing. And I never saw anything like that with Obama. Have you? I don't really remember seeing anything.
No, but I didn't follow his presidency. And it was funny, though, in that T.I. thing where they had them on stage. There's one guy who was being an advocate for her. He's like, "Look, y'all need to shut up. Let the women talk." Was
Charlie Kirk with her or not?
No, she was by herself on that TI debate. Okay. It was like a forum, and she was on stage, and it was basically the big thing came out of that was the narrative was when was America great, which is why I did a video on why America is great. And she answered in a way that I thought could have been done better, but it was a right answer, but. They pretty much yelled her and yelled and basically booed her off the stage essentially because they basically drowned her out. But the fact is because she was impacting them, it was making an effect. Even so much that the moderator was like, "Look, she's right about Obama. She's right about he didn't do anything for us. She's right about this. She's right about the Black community. She's right about everything she's saying. She's right." This is what the guy said on the stage. But you never see that clip ever anywhere on any of these things. You always see that T.I. Point where he says, "When was America great? Ha 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 ha." It's crap.
It is crap. And the other point I wanted to make was, man, I'll have to dig it up, but I just saw a little clip about someone who's actually on the Democratic team saying the conservatives are right about all the Democratic mayors in the large cities. Like, think about it. Baltimore, Chicago, New York City, all the Democrats are the mayors of these cities that are like spiraling downward into hell, and Black and anybody poor, Black, whatever, they're not doing very well. They're not doing very well. That Kim Klacik video of Baltimore is a classic about, and the thing is people like say, well, Baltimore needs more money, and then you look and see how much money the federal government has given Baltimore to clean up all these problems. And John Lewis, RIP, he got so much money for his district, but nothing ever changed. So where is the money? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to speak ill of somebody because he certainly did some amazing things, but what are they doing? And Candace Owens talks about that all the time. Take a look. Republican mayors, cities are in much better shape.
There is no answer to the reason why I get called Uncle Tom and why every other black conservative gets called Uncle Tom, whatever, because there's no answer to those questions.
Right.
All they can have is hominem attacks against you to drown you out, like they did with Candace at the end of the thing, because she was being very effective, and they couldn't take it. And so, there's no answer to that Kim Klacik video. Zero.
I agree. Oh, wait, did we just make the white supremacy signal?
I try not to, but it's funny because I have a clip of Obama doing it as well, but it's not a problem. He does it.
There's a million clips of people doing it because it means okay, and that's all it ever meant. So
it's
what?
Funny, when I was in Brazil, and to my Brazilian audience, if there's anyone in Brazil, I apologize for making that statement. I'm not being funny because when I was down there, we were told on the missionary, do not do that symbol because it doesn't mean okay. It means something.
I know, but that's other countries.
Use your imagination. Yeah.
But it doesn't mean it doesn't mean white supremacists in Brazil either. It doesn't mean
it does not. It does not. It's ridiculous.
So what do you think? So I think that it's too soon for Candace to run to office. I think she needs to be a little bit more seasoned. I mean, office of president, but also I think she's got to learn to be more like Kate Middleton and rise above. You got to stop arguing these petty arguments with people. You know what? I think that as more and more minorities and other Black people join the conservative movement and learn to speak out, and they have people like Kingface, but Brandon Tatum, I don't know, there's others, Candace, they will learn that it's okay to speak up about how you feel, and it's okay to be a conservative. And I think that she could model that maybe for other women instead of getting those bicker fights with Cardi B. I mean, honestly, I can't think of anyone who has done less in this world than Cardi B. I mean, really, honestly.
When she did that thing with her, that Twitter battle, I did 2 videos that night. They've got incredible. I mean, if you want to be a YouTuber, just do something on LeBron James and Candace Owens, man. It's like, it's just like, it's so vitriol on the other side, It's just these kind of culture wars, something that we need to engage with because people are so interested in it. I personally have interested in it.
Fighting. Do you think anybody that changes their mind, that really likes Cardi B is going to change their mind? Because if you like Cardi B, you couldn't possibly have the kind of values that Candace Owens has, unless you just want to get into the argument because of the skin color of both people.
Yeah, I didn't know who Cardi B was before that whole thing, really. Other than the fact that she was the one who admitted to drugging people, right? That's why I first heard about her.
I think I mentioned to you before about when I was at Rikers Island, we had to take like a 9-hour gang education, and they spent an hour on Cardi B and her origins and her roots. And I saw many pictures of her. She has blood tattoos. I don't know whether she got them taken off or she puts makeup. She has blood tattoos on her neck, all over her body, because she was a member of the Bloods gang, and I think they put the money up to start her career. There's lots of pictures. Hats off. I'm not going to do the gang signal, but I saw with my own eyes. That's where she came from, and that's who she probably truly is. And when she was drugging men, and while they're having sex with her, and then she stole their belongings, that's who you're having an argument with, Candace. It's not worth 1 minute of your time.
Yeah, you get yourself in the mud with that kind of person. It really does. But it was just interesting, though, from a social experiment standpoint. And I agree with what you're saying, but it was just interesting to see how she shut her down to the point it was just like, and it was just embarrassing for Cardi B, really. But it's something to keep an eye on. But I mean, she's not afraid to get into the fight. I guess that's kind of the whole point here. And at what point do you stop engaging, or what tactic do you use when you do engage to make it, like you were saying, a little bit more, relatable to a bigger audience when you're trying to do a general election, right? Because winning a general election is a lot different than winning a state or primary. And so I'm not sure she's prepared to win a general election, but you never know how badly this administration can turn things up in the next 4 years to see what happens. So anything's right now with Biden, anything's on the table. I think I could probably run in 4 years.
The only thing the only slight joy I get when I do catch like every egregious thing on a daily basis that's done in Washington, D.C. and said by the left is I feel like it's another shovel on the grave of who they are, of the Democratic Party, of the far leftists, and of them having any power. The more they talk, even people that aren't as political as we are, they got to be rolling their eyes and going like, oh my gosh, look at all the people that lost their job with the Keystone Pipeline. I think that was what, day 1, day 2?
Yeah, I think it's the first day, I think. He signed an unprecedented number of executive orders on day 1 and hasn't had a single press conference so far. Hasn't answered for anything.
Right.
Taking 0 questions. So
you know what? I saw something interesting. I don't watch Fox anymore because they multiple reasons, like everything from Donna Brazil to other things. But Dana Perino did an interview with Dave Rubin, and she brought up something important that I didn't really catch. You can't really tell what gets out to the media, but this did get out. Nobody told Kamala Harris that they were going to bomb Syria. And I think she didn't hear about it till it was in the general news. And Dana Perino, as you know, was the press secretary for George W. And she said that is a big sign that Kamala, I mean, they really got her as a placeholder. But she's obviously not part of the inner team, which Joe Biden is only really a spokesman for the inner team. But I don't think he makes any decisions or participates in their strategy on a day-to-day basis, but apparently either does Kamala, or she would have known that they were going to bomb Syria. Like that gives me hope. That gives me hope that I guess they just used her as bait. I mean, what they did, you didn't really need to worry about how many people voted for you with the way they won the election, but it's interesting. It's interesting to me that just as I suspected, the pretty face on the front of the mess, but that's sort of what she is, pretty, but you know what I mean? Like she's just there holding the place. She's not someone that's actively involved in anything, and she shouldn't be because she's a dummy.
She was a bad choice for a VP, in my opinion. I think
she was unlikable.
I'm sorry?
She's so unlikable.
She's unlikable, and like I said, based on your last comment, it didn't matter who they had on anyway. If they were going to do what they were going to do, it didn't matter who was on top of the ticket, So, but traditionally speaking, the vice president doesn't do anything.
But they're usually at least involved. Remember the pictures of remember that war room picture when they got Osama bin Laden and everybody was in the room? They're usually involved. We should do a show about.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
We should do a show about who's really running the country right now, because it's not Joe Biden for sure, and it's obviously not Kamala Harris. Maybe a little bit of Nancy Pelosi, but there's obviously some big people behind. Like the man behind the curtain in The Wizard of Oz. And there's been some suggestions as to who it is, but I think I'm going to try to spend some time figuring out, and we could talk about it, some of the names. I think that Obama has a lot of say in what goes on in the White House and in the government and what decisions are made, 100%.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I want to actually make an announcement here, is that we're bringing on doing a new show format on Fridays, and we'll see how it goes. But right now, I did an interview with a lady by the name of Kira Bowlby, and young conservative, and she's dynamic, got her own YouTube channel, and got a lot of opinions and views, and she's going through her own thing in this space of conservatism, starting out as a national figure now that she's on YouTube. Some issues she's having with people coming at her and things that she's making public. You can go see for yourself if you follow her on Telegram or whatever. However, she's going to come back on and do a show with me this Friday, and we're not sure the format yet, but it's going to be about basically where is Biden, okay? And I'm thinking about doing something dealing with memes that are out there that are either true or untrue, or clips that are out there that are either funny or not funny. More of a young demographic type of program, because the demographics of this channel are fairly older. And so she brings a whole new spirit to that. So let's talk about that, see what we can bring together there. But look for that on Friday, and that's going to be with Kiva Bowlby. If you want to check out her interview with me, it's also on this channel as well.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I didn't mention that to you before. I mentioned that to you. I think I mentioned it to you yesterday. I may have.
You did. I'm really just faking it for the viewers. How exciting! No, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward. I think there's so much going on that you need to have a couple different ways of looking at things.
Yeah.
There's so much out there right now, and now's our time. Now is our time. We cannot waste this moment. When I think, as sad as it is, what's going on in the country makes you realize how precious our freedom is, our Second Amendment right, the culture being so crazy whacked out left. All these are important things, and now is the time to why people are galvanized to try to take some action.
Yeah, I agree. So right now we're about at an hour. I want to kind of wrap this thing up. I'll go longer, but I want to get through this program first, because I want to make sure I cover it, because the thumbnail has it. So I'm going to get off here a little bit. If you indulge me just a little bit here, I'm going to talk about this. So I love sports. Okay. I coach basketball at an AAU level. I played high school for championship teams up in Maryland. And I was part of Georgetown basketball camp back in the 80s, right before Georgetown won the national championship in 84. I met John Thompson, spoke with him, even remember the conversation I had when I was a 13-year-old person. And he passed away this past year. And he was hired this day. I'm just going to point to this. He was hired this very day at Georgetown University, and his team, or his school, today won yesterday won the Big East championship. Okay, first time in a dozen years. Patrick Ewing's the coach, whatever. Really, really emotional. Why am I saying this? Why do you care about basketball? Whatever. Well, the reason is because John Thompson cared about raising strong black men. He made sure that you worked hard, did your homework, you had your hair cut right, you wore a suit and tie. Back in the 80s, there was none of that, whatever. So he made Allen Iverson cut his hair. He made sure that everyone ran a tight ship. And when Patrick Ewing was in his interview just a minute ago, he said he was trying to get a job in the NBA. He couldn't do it, but he didn't complain. He didn't mope. He didn't blame anybody. He said, I got my interviewing skills better. I got better until I could finally land something. It's the same mentality that John Thompson instilled in Patrick Ewing, this is my opinion, that is carrying on to this day for Patrick Ewing. He's not blaming someone, whatever, for whatever. And the reason I bring this up is because on Netflix this weekend, there's a show called Last Chance U Basketball. And this gentleman here, I forget the guy's name. I'm sorry, I watched it this weekend, 8 hours long. This guy here, this coach, is out in, I believe it's in East Los Angeles, turned the school into a JUCO school, by the way. It's a 2-year school, junior college, into a huge program. And these kids here, when I first saw these kids, I couldn't stand hardly any of them. But by the end of the season, I, to a way, fell in love with them in some ways, because they are kids who just had issues across the board. And you could see these kids, these young millennials, who are just blaming people for whatever the reasons are, why they're in JUCO, why they're not in the NBA, why they're not in college, why they're not, all this stuff. And this coach didn't care. He basically said, you know what? He basically laid the law down, yelling, screaming in a Christian love manner, was a God-fearing man, prayed in the name of Jesus every single time on Netflix. He's giving long sermon prayers on Netflix. And I'm like, dude, this show is awesome. And I'm telling you right now, if you have a chance to watch this show, it's called Last Chance U. It's on Netflix right now. I know Netflix is horrible. I don't have an account. I'm using someone else's account. I don't spend money on Netflix. But if you do run across it and you feel like running, watch this show, because it is really inspiring. Unfortunately, there's a lot of bad language in it, But this guy's a strong leader, and he's a good father. And he's literally yelling at his players, look, I am here for you. I'm not here for my family. Why shouldn't I get upset? If I didn't love you, I could just say, you know what, practice is over. I'm out. We're done. But no, I'm stuck here with you. And he's yelling at these kids saying, wake up, wake up. And then by the end of the season, you can see how that long 8 months of training and coaching and making them do stuff and dealing with their crap paid off. And these kids really came around. And I'm sure, Jack, you can speak to this because you're dealing with the
well, first of all, I didn't realize actually until just now. I know you mentioned the show to me, so it's real life. I thought it was like acting. It's not acting; it's real
documentary. Yes.
So I just want to say one thing that you brought up that's kind of interesting. In the Black community, my experience, even so, I'm talking about especially when I worked, within the prison system, I hesitated for a long time to say anything about God to anybody, but you can talk to Black people about God in my experience. I might be a little awkward and a little afraid to talk to a 25-year-old white guy like that's in trouble and he's in jail and he's upset or sad. I may not bring up God to him, but Black people respect the church overall. You can always talk to Black people about God, in my experience. And, it's not like a forbidden thing. Even if they're like dirty, rotten criminals, whatever, they respect the fact of believing in God. They respect that. And if the coach hooks into that, you see how they all pray, I think that's pretty effective. And I also think that whoever that guy is, now I really want to watch the show because he's doing God's work right there, working with those boys.
Dude, man, he's a beast, yo. He's a total beast. And most of the kids don't even pay any attention for the spiritual stuff. Like one kid says, I don't want to hear about it, but he's a pastor. He's my coach. I'm going to listen to him. I'm going to respect him. And so, and then they had, I don't want to spoil it for you, but there's so many special moments in there. And I've been doing this channel and being a Republican and being conservative and pushing this effort and basically dogging out the Black community for so long about why they're screwing up. It kind of reminded me of my days of being a youth leader, coaching football, coaching soccer, coaching these kids who couldn't even get to practice. I had to go across town to pick them up just for practice to bring them back so they could whatever, and dealing with situations with bad parents and so forth. And that's a long time ago in my life when I was, and even in college, when we would go to a high school and mentor these kids and go to prisons and talk to these kids, whatever. And it brought me back to a time in my life when I was more liberal in terms of my outreach, whatever. And so I realize now that I still love that part of the community, but I just can't relate to them as much. But this coach is the same age as me, and he keeps it real, dude. He keeps it real. It is so fun to watch, and he goes in these tantrums. It's just, but my point is, I'm all saying all this, that this is the leadership we need to be pushing forth. This is the kind of culture that we need to be pushing forth, that I'm hoping that the Daily Wire and Candace Owens can be putting forth, because they're doing this whole production show now, this whole production studio stuff of raising movies and television programs. I hope this kind of message can get out there. It's real. It's definitely mature. It's rated R, hard R for the language. But outside of that, it's a great family show. If you can just, I'm
shocked that Netflix even has it on.
Yeah, I am too.
I hate to say this, but if it gets popular and the left is not, the Hollywood elite are not going to like it. So I don't know. Watch it, but don't talk about it, everybody.
And Trump is not mentioned one time.
Thank you. That would be nice.
And that you usually they have like a little dig here and there on none of that. And I think maybe the director may be a conservative actually on the DL. I'm serious.
I just want to ask you because I'm curious. Does the coach curse?
No, he doesn't. He's freaking, and he changes words around. He doesn't cuss at all.
So he's real.
Yeah, but it's funny because they're laughing at him because he's like filth kind of stuff. But they follow him around, his whole family. They have access to his house, his wife, the kids, and it's just a really good. And it got interrupted via COVID, which is kind of a spoiler. So, but even then, it's a really powerful and good message.
I think that you should also mention, because I think it's interesting that so this is the 5th season, but previously they have done other sports.
Football.
Right. Was the first 4 seasons all football?
Yes.
Same school, or did they go around?
2 were in Mississippi, and the second 2 were in different schools.
Well, that sounds good. I actually, of course, cut my Netflix subscription, but I think my son still has a subscription, so I can watch it that way.
Yeah, I'm actually going to rewatch it. The reason why I haven't done a review yet is because there's not a lot of interest at it right now. But I want to at least talk about it on this program.
Yeah, you know what? You should do a review and it's in the thumbnail. And maybe people will start watching and talking about it.
It's really good.
That is so needed, right? So it's not portraying people. It's not portraying people in a particular way. It's showing what the coach is demonstrating responsibility, his Christianity, like things that we actually approve of, and that's a good model. That's a good model.
And they deal with Kobe Bryant's death, and of course they're in LA.
Oh, really?
That's fascinating because I mean, I'm telling you, the thing is off the chain, dude. I'm telling you. And so I forgot my chain of thought there, but
it sounds very worthwhile. Last Chance, right? Last Chance University?
Last Chance U.
Okay. We're going to check it out.
All right, cool. Let me see any questions here, and then we can maybe wrap this thing up. Let me see here. I heard that Obama is taking Sorrell's place in power. Getting a job this time is hard, and I love this expression. The American has its own law on land. Love both of you. Love you too. Morality brings us together. And I'm not sure what the other comment means, but yeah, thank you, Exploring. That's awesome.
That's cool.
He's from Vegas, actually. That's cool. So right now it's about what a 2 hours difference, or the 10.
It's
no, 4 today, man. I'm all messed up.
I know.
46. Yep, out there maybe. So, yep, cool. So, yeah, Jackie. So, unless you have anything else you want to talk about, or
I would like to know: is Vegas open? Exploring the code. Is Vegas all the way open? I'm just curious. I got a big birthday coming up this year, and I'm thinking about heading to Vegas. Let me know.
Are you ready?
No, Kyle. Good talk. I definitely cannot wait to do the call-in show. I'm excited because I think I want to talk about things that people want to talk about, the people watching the video. So that's a way to make sure that happens. And really, that's it. No more talk about Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Malibu.
Yeah, I haven't done a video on her. I probably won't. I mean,
no, don't you dare. Don't you dare. If you want to do a video, do it about responsibility, duty to country, dignity, things like that. Let's do a nice video about that.
Yeah.
All right, friend. Have a good week.
You too.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. I'll close it out here.
Kick me out.
I'll kick you out.
Kick me out.
All right. So that's the end of our top 3 program today and the top 3 show. Thank you for coming out here tonight on the Sunday. I really appreciate it. The channel's doing very well now and getting a lot of engagement and a lot of feedback. If you leave a comment on the video, I will, or someone will answer your question. If it's to me directly, I will read it. And so, yeah, just thank you so much. If you like what we do here, please like and subscribe and share with your friends. Just tell them about this channel, what we're trying to do. We're going to be trying to do some live call-in shows soon. We did some rebranding on our website and our whole social media platform to be more clear what our message is. And so, yeah, and just we have a way that you can also come and join us as well. If you go to the YouTube channel and click the join button, there's a little video there. I explain what we're trying to do there, and then you have an option to come on board further. There's more content going on there, which means that we will actually do private stuff, more personal stuff, and more business related stuff as the channel is growing, to show you what's going on, how the channel is growing, how it's organized, and what we're trying to do. Because ultimately, I want this to be on time, this kind of thing, where it's being run by people who love conservatism, who love this country, and who can push this thing forward for many, many years to come. So that's kind of the vision for this channel, and for this, in some ways, as a ministry, personally at least. So yeah, so that is it for tonight. Again, thank you again. And again, like and subscribe and share with your friends. And I will leave a thing here so you can check it out. If you're watching this video after the fact, you can click these links right here to check out more content. I'll see you later.